Can you hear that? It's a sound of frothing in the air. And of course, jumping on a bandwagon. Never let it be said that I will not jump on a bandwagon, because I will jump all over that. Let's discuss the topic of the moment, Accurascale versus Cavalex and the Class 60 debate. This is a tug of war. So, this is going to be just from the hip. I did write a little bit of a script for this, but to be fair, I just need to say what I want to say about this. So, you might be surprised to hear this, but Accurascale have announced they're doing a Class 60. Same as Hornby already make, and the same that Cavalex models announced fairly recently that they're making as well. Now, there's going to be some variation and differences and blah blah blah, but the thing that really jumped to the front of the conversation, from what I can gather and what I've seen, it's not the features of the model or how nice the prototypes look or anything like that. No. It's the frothing, the rage within a certain segment, a certain corner of the model railway fraternity online, and it's just diabolical, really. The amount of rage people just don't seem to be able to get it into their heads. The tooling for a model locomotive or wagon doesn't just crop up overnight. People are quite happy to stand there or sit there or type there saying that Accurascale have copied Cavalex models. Have they? You got stone cold proof to prove that, have you? You haven't. Of course, they probably didn't. In fact, I'm 100% certain they didn't copy them, to be fair with you. Now, did Cavalex copy Accurascale, perhaps? Just because they were first to announce it doesn't mean they were the first to start development, does it? It's easy to stand there and say Accurascale are copying. Well, it could be Cavalex copying as well. And they're both copying Hornby, right? Little secret for you now, okay? In this world, there is something called business. And in this thing called business, there's something called other businesses. And those two businesses have something called competition between each other. Now, it's not duplication. Duplication is a daft term because it's not duplication. Duplication would be Accurascale using the exact same tooling, production methods and everything else as either Hornby or Cavalex to create their model. That is not the case. You can clearly see from Accurascale's decorated samples that they've been on this for a long time. Months, years, whatever. Quite clearly they're at an advanced stage of production. It wouldn't surprise me if we can see their model arriving on the market at the same time as Cavalex's, if not sooner. And there's one thing that you can always bet on Accurascale, and that is they always invest time and research into their models. Do they always get it perfect? No, of course they don't. No one gets it perfect. Even Cavalex have had a few issues. Hornby seem to be middle of the road on this. I don't understand Hornby's. It's a funny one with the Hornby model, because it's not a bad model by any stretch of the imagination. It's a fine piece of kit. And we even have some people that have got the old Lima ones and they've super detailed them and they're fantastic and they look okay for what they are. But purely from a modern tooling point of view, the Lima one is a bit old. The motors are getting tired, very noisy, very scratchy, and even if you replace with them CD motors or whatever else. So that's not really a viable option for people saying there's already several to choose from. Not the case. The Hornby one is 230 quid RRP. The Accurascale one's 269 RRP, 270 quid. Cavalex one's something like 320, something like that. I've not got the figures somewhere, but that's the sound phase version. You can see there's a stepping price difference between the three models, and the Hornby one is an older tooling. But again, older tooling isn't necessarily a bad thing, but today we're just talking about new tooling, as in fresh this year or whatever. Cavalex, Accurascale, they're both going to produce a feature-rich model. And there is, of course, space within the class for both sides to produce various liveries and running numbers and dealer exclusives, which now seem to be becoming a more common thing, really. I know Rails have got their own dealer exclusives from probably both parties. It'll be interesting to see how everything plays out with this. Now, I don't have a horse in this race, so to speak. I stopped modelling modern image fairly recently due to space constraints. And from a modelling standpoint, I'm just taking more of an interest in what was, not what is. I'm just finding more enjoyment from things pre-tops, really. And that includes a little bit of Steam, actually. So I don't think you can rightly say that Accurascale's copying Cavalex. And nor can you say that Cavalex are copying Accurascale. You can't sit there and accuse one party of producing something before another when you don't have any actual concrete proof. And you can say you have proof but then don't produce it. That's the same as not having the proof, isn't it, really? When people ask you to cough up the goods and you can't, there you are. It's the same as when KR Models and Ellis Clark Trains both announced they were going to do a WD, austerity water pump thing, and they both pretty much announced them within a few months of each other. But again, they both had CAD samples and everything else, so you can bet that even they started to design things at the same time. Of course, you can't just go around telling everyone, "Oh, we're going to make this, guys, don't copy us," because guess what? They will copy you. They'll make their own version and they'll have a share of the market for that model. It's like, I mean, I don't remember any of this when Dapol announced they were doing a manor, even though Accurascale had already announced theirs. Then both have come to market and both are fine models, but the Accurascale one is, I would say, a lot more affordable at the market, and the Dapol one, from what I can see, has been lowered in price by certain retailers to be in line with the Accurascale one. Certainly, I think Accurascale are leading the way in terms of things you get other than a new model. So you're looking at things like a cashless deposit system, you can pre-order it without paying any money down. You can do monthly installments all through the Accurascale website, or you can go to one of the 150 odd dealers that Accurascale support. And there's a lot of companies out there that say, yes, you can discount it, but we're taking some of your margin away. You've also got their unlimited warranty, and I know there are those of you out there that have been bitten and you are convinced that Accurascale are out to get you. I promise you they're not. They're just a business. I don't work for them. I'll never work for Accurascale. I've never worked for Batman or Hornby or anyone like that. I'm not on the payroll. I'm not being backhanded or anything like that. So let's just knock that out of the water straight away, all right? They're a business. They're a business and they're there to make money, and they've spotted an opportunity to make money by making a very competitive model. And I'm not being funny, but I've owned several Accurascale models before now, and I don't currently have my 37 because I sold that because it was too modern image, because I've gone back to pre-tops. But that doesn't mean I won't get another one. I'm even looking at getting a manor if I can find the right one at the right price when I build this new bigger layout when we move from this room into the other room. That's to come later on. I'm convinced that time will ultimately be the deciding factor on who we see as coming up as the champion. But let's also not forget that we're looking at numbers of production runs as well. For example, the Cavalex model could sell out, and then you really want a brand new tool class 60. Well, guess what? The Accurascale one's right around the corner. Could happen the other way around. The Accurascale one could sell out. And certainly with it being a much more affordable price point, it'd be hard to resist temptation other than being, well, I've already bought a Cavalex one and I don't really have enough money to buy a second one, which of course is fine. These aren't cheap models by any stretch of the imagination, so I can fully understand why you wouldn't want to necessarily order one from each party sort of thing. It would be interesting to see all three of them lined up, the Hornby one, the Cavalex one and the Accurascale one, when they all eventually come out, just to see what you're getting for your money. But again, you need to remember, off the scale, Accurascale seem to offer extra as standard now, and I think that is their trump card, if you will. A lot of other manufacturers don't seem to offer anything else in that way. I mean, we're also told on the other hand that manufacturing costs are going up, shipping costs are going up, and we've covered this topic many times. But yet Accurascale are still managing to bring their model, brand new tool model by the way, to market for less than both of their competitors, and it will be a comparable if not superior model. It's not like they've just reskinned a lemur tooling from the 80s or 90s like Hornby do with a lot of their railroad range. No, it's a separate thing entirely. It's a brand new tool model. You need to remember that, and it is significantly cheaper than the other two offerings which are potentially coming to market and already on the market. It's also funny when you see Batman announcing models and they're all £300-400, but yet when a competitor of theirs releases one, all of a sudden Batman can afford to release one at the same sort of price. No, I'm not saying there's gouging going on, or for lack of a better term, profiteering, because I can't prove it, and so I won't say that. I just think it's a strange thing to observe, to objectively observe, and to be given the impression that manufacturers are at a dilemma as to what to charge consumers for their product, because they've had to put money into it and develop it. And, I mean, for example, you can also take on board that Rapido have just announced their S160, for example. Beautiful looking model. I was really excited when they first announced it earlier this year, and I really wanted one. And then they announced it on the anniversary of D-Day, and I was absolutely gutted for the price they were asking for it, because for me it was just far in excess of what I personally deem acceptable to pay for a brand new tool model, especially when you compare to what's already out there and what's coming to market from competitors like Accurascale. It's just, and I'm not understanding why. I mean, they're all being made in China for a start off, and probably on the same street in China, just at different factories, maybe even the same factory. And I just don't understand why similar models from similar companies all have vast different price points. So someone's been done there, aren't they? I think, anyway, and it might not be the case, I might be wrong, and I'm sure I've got everyone looking at this video rolling their eyes and saying, you don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, that's fine, I don't. If you do, and you're willing to tell me how much it costs to make your model, please enlighten me. I'd love to know. Of course, that'll never happen. But what I would do, and what I would urge all of you good people out there to do, is vote with your wallets. In a world where things are ever going up in prices, and we're struggling with things like having to fit detail parts ourselves and quality control issues and everything else, it's difficult for me to honestly put my hand on my heart and say, yes, go for the model which doesn't offer you a lifetime warranty, which is more expensive and isn't necessarily any more detailed than the other ones. You know what I'm getting at? It just doesn't seem to tick enough boxes for me to want to go there. I'm not gonna. Like I said, I've not got a horse in this race, so it's almost irrelevant, what I think, because I'm not going to be a customer. Certainly not in the near future anyway. Maybe some point long down the line I may be at a juncture where I decide to dip a toe into the model image again, but if I do, it won't be anything as grand as what I've done before. Of course, let's not forget that duplication or copying or multiples of the same thing exist in every other walk of life as well. For example, there are multiple companies that make different types of baked beans. Should it just be Heinz that make baked beans, or should it be up to you as a consumer to have a choice? What about getting your petrol? How would you feel if you had to go to Shell garages to get your petrol? No more going to Asda or Tesco or whatever for their discounted petrol anymore. You've got to go there because you can't duplicate a product. Do you see what I mean? Competition's a good thing. Ultimately, it is better as a consumer to have a choice, because that means manufacturers ultimately have to work harder, because if they know a competitor of theirs is doing a comparable product for a similar price or less, which makes them potentially look bad or out of price, then guess where people are going to go? There's a reason why firms like Aldi and Lidl and all the buzzy supermarkets are raking it in, because people can't always afford to go shop at Waitrose. But as always, that is just my opinion. One bloke with a hat sat in his model room ranting at the camera. My word is not law. I don't know all the ins and outs. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm open to being completely wrong, provided the contrary to what I'm saying can be proven without doubt, not just hearsay and opinion. That's all I'm bringing here, an opinion. Just ruminate on that before having a rant at me and insulting me and knowing everyone's watching and trying to come up with a clever little comment, because it's boring. Anyway, I do genuinely want to know what you folks think. As always, what are we thinking? Are we going to go for the Cavalex? Have you already put down for the Cavalex model? Are you going to get both? Do you have a Hornby Class 60 and you are convinced and you're sticking to your guns that there's no point in you changing because you're happy with the Hornby offering? Let me know. Let's have a chat. Let's discuss it like we do every week. Right guys, I will see you all very soon. That's enough for me waffling on. Catch you next week. Take care. Bye bye.